Hey soulmates, you are welcome to Soul with Cherry. How you all doing? So today I want to take us on how to cut and sew the Bubu pleated shoulder Bubu cowl dress you're seeing on my screen. If this is your first time of visiting our channel, you are welcome. And to all the old members, thank you very much for stopping by again. In this channel, we upload sewing tutorial on how to cut and sew both male and female unique attires. So guys, let us get started. Please, if your subscription button is not being clicked yet, please go ahead and click that now, and then also put on your notification bell so that you'll be notified each time we drop a new video. Always come back here because we always have very amazing unique ways of teaching you how to cut and sew your wear so that it comes out very neat and tidy and very classic, right? Okay, so now please bear in mind that this Bubu dress is mostly for all occasions. Someone can rock it to church, rock it to wedding, rock it to some parties, you know. It depends on the occasion, right? Okay, so and there are two varieties of this cowl Bubu. I'm going to teach you one in this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'm going to teach you the other type of cowl Bubu. Yet there are two different ways of pleating the shoulders. You either choose to pleat the shoulders by 4 inches or 2 inches, right? So I'm going to illustrate that, and then I'm going to talk about the collar as well, right? The collar can be as wide as 2 inches or as wide as 1 inch. It all depends on what you're making, but I'm going to illustrate that on how to go about about any of them. This cowl Bubu, I'm not sure it's ever going to go out of trend, right? It's never going to go out of trend. It's always a trend. It always come with different fabrics and different blends of how to make it, and it's so beautiful that everyone's mother needs to have it. Even you as a young lady, it's very beautiful for you. So let us go ahead already. So please, first of all, I'm going to show you how I folded this fabric so that you wouldn't make mistake with yours, right? So now let's assume that this is the fabric, right? You can see the length is like this, right? So how you do it, that this is the full length of the fabric, and please mind you, there is no shoulder joining on this Bubu, right? So you're going to get the person's full length times 2. Now my client's full length is 60 inches.
Multiply by 2 is 120 inches plus 2 inches sewing allowance for each of them, that is 4 inches, making it 124 inches. Then go ahead and make sure you cut out 124 inches on a full running fabric.
So now how you fold is, number one, you fold the two ends to meet each other, and then you press this part down very well. Secondly, you now fold it like this. So this part that is not open is for the shoulder, and then this part is the hem side, right? The hemming, that is the full length of the dress. So this is how you fold it. I hope you get that illustration. So let me just show you how I did it on the fabric. I got full length like I told you, and then I folded into 2 like I told you. So after folding into 2, I folded like so to get this. So I have how many pieces here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 1 for the front and 1 for the back. Please do not slit the shoulder at all. No slitting at all, please. If you have in mind to maybe like you want to make it more stylish, like the back should be different color and front different color, I think it's also feasible, but just make sure that you do not slant the shoulder at all. It's meant to be straight like this. The neck width we're working with is 3 inches. You're going to go ahead and mark that. Mark 3 inches, and then the neck depth for the back panel is going to be 1 inch. Then neck depth for the front panel is going to be 8 inches, right? You can work with 7 inches, but I love to work with 8 inches. Now the neck width for the front panel down here is going to be 2 inches down here. These 2 inches are going to make it like so. For the back neck depth, you're going to connect it like so in a curvy manner. But then the front neck depth, from this 2 inches we came in by, you're going to connect it to the neck width. Now these 2 inches we marked here, we're going to mark it all the way down to the hemline. Go ahead and make that in a straight line. So now after doing that, this, bear in mind that this line that ran all the way down to the hemline is just for the front panel. Please do not cut it on the back panel as well. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now the next thing that we're going to do is to work on the shoulder here. So now the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do first is to include the shoulder length. The shoulder length of my client is 16 inches. Now 16 inches divided by 2 gives 8 inches, right? We're going to go ahead and mark that 8 inches, and this is it. After this 8 inches, we are going to include the pleating allowance. Now the pleating allowance I want to work with is 8 inches. That is 4 inches. I'm going to be pleating by 4 inches. So you're going to mark that. Assuming that you want to pleat by 2 inches, you're going to only mark 4 inches here instead of 8 inches, okay? So it's still the same process, but just different quantity, different length of fabric added. Now for the sleeve length, you're going to go ahead and measure any sleeve length that you want. I am going to because this is Ankara, I'm just going to leave it. This, what I'm left with here is 6.5 inches. So I'm going to leave this 6.5 inches length I have here, right? So we're going to go over to, and then mind you, I also advise you that while the fabric is still all together like this, to mark this 2.12 in 2.2 distant point, and then rule it, make it in a straight line so that it will be easier for us to do our pleating, right? So to get that, this is from here to here is 8 inches. We are going to determine the length of where the plait is going to end. For me, I want mine to end at my client's own to end at either on the belly button or on the half length. So her half length is actually 18 inches, but I'm going to go ahead and make that to end on at 20 inches, and that is her belly button line. So I'm going to mark 20 inches here. So this 20 inches, I'm going to mark it here as well. Mark it here as well. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mark this first 8 inches. That is this one here. And then what we have here again is 8 inches. I'm going to mark that again, 8 inches, right? So I'm going to connect that in a straight line. This is going to serve as a guideline. Now that we have gotten this, we're going to go ahead and include all the other measurements. Now the next measurement we're going to include is the sleeve opening. That's the sleeve round. So I'm going to be working with sleeve round of 11 inches. You can go ahead and work with 10 inches or 8 inches based on how wide you want the opening to be or your client wants it to be. So but I'm going to make mine to be 11 inches. So then I'm going to mark that already. Now from this 11 inches, I'm going to come in by just 5 inches or 5.5 inches, but I'm going to just leave it at 5 inches, right? Now the next thing that I'm going to go ahead and include is, please make this in a straight line, connect it from here to the 5 inches you marked. Now next thing I'm going to include is a hip length. My client's hip length is 30 inches. Now this is hip length, this is 30 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark it here, and her knee length is 40 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark that 40 inches. This is 40 inches. These two lengths here are just for guideline of the cowl that we're going to be including here. Now her full length is 60 inches. Remember I told you that at the beginning, 60 inches. I mark that, and then plus 2 inches sewing allowance, or 4 inches. I'm going to work with 4 inches plus 4 inches sewing allowance, right? So to effect this full length, because my fabric is longer, I'm going to place this in 2 distant points so I could get a very accurate straight line. Next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is to insert the hip measurement. Her hip is 39 inches. 39 divided by 4 is 9.75. So at this hip line, I'm going to measure 9.75 first, or I will approximate it to 10 inches. I'm going to measure 10 inches, and I'm going to just include just 4 to 6 inches extra allowance. That is, it all depends on you. So that means altogether from here to here, I'm going to measure what I have altogether. So here I have 16.5. This 16.5 that I have from here to here, I'm going to measure it on the hemline as well. 16.5. I'm going to measure it on the knee length, 16.5. So now, please pay attention. I want you to pay a close attention here. I'm going to connect from this line to this line, from the hemline all the way to the knee length. Now, the cowl formation is going to occur at this hip line. And so, how do you do that? You will just come from here, from this point. You're just going to go like this. Can you see that? And then, now there are 2 different ways or 3 different ways of getting this. Okay, there are 2 different ways of getting this cowl formation. The cowl, the curved cowl, there are 2 different methods, right? First method is that some persons like to just here at the knee length, you either go down by 4 inches or 5 inches, and then you connect from there. This is a way of having a very shallow, not a sharp cowl. Can see that? Now, some persons like to connect from just where that knee length is, right? Just from the knee length, you connect from this knee length just to the hip length, and then blend. But then the one that I want to be working with is the one that went 4 inches or 5 inches below the knee length. It's actually kind of more smooth for me. I just love that look more than the one that just protrudes so. But it all depends on you. Whichever you want to work with is very perfect. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trim our cutting out. Please smoothen this place out. Let it be smooth. And notch it. Now, after notching it, we're going to need to open it up. Like I said, that we're going to treat one phase first before we go over to the other phase, right? Make sure that this notch is effective while folding, trying to refold it again. So now, mind that this is the shoulder line. I decided to roll it out the way I did. This is the shoulder line. So next thing that we're going to do now is that we're going to place our ruler here, like so, and roll this thing out. Measure down 20 inches. I will measure at the front. This is for the back panel. Measure something here as well, 20 inches. Now, measure 8 inches inward. Do the same thing here. Take the second measurement of 8 inches. Now connect. So right now we have our pleat set out. This is for this part, this side. Now we're going to flip this over to repeat what we have here at the other side. Mind you that this is a shoulder line. Can you always notch your shoulder line? And then here I notched this end as well. I notched the fold at the end of the sleeve as well. So I'm going to make this in a straight line, so that I'm going to then, from this fold, I'm going to measure 8 inches. The first 8 inches. And I'm going to measure the second 8 inches. I'll do the same thing. And then I'll measure down 20 inches at the 2 points. Then measure 8 inches again. The second 8 inches. Now we're going to connect this in a straight line. Now measure 20 inches for the front panel, from here, from the shoulder line all the way down. 20 inches. Do the same thing to this side as well. 20 inches. Now you're going to place your tape rule on this line, making sure that you're straight. You put it straight, very accurately straight, and then you roll this down like so. You do the same thing to this side. Roll it down all the way to this 20 inches line here. So the next thing that you're going to go ahead and do on this attire now is to go ahead and make your fold, make your pleat, right? And how do you do that? You're just going to hold it like so. You hold this place, get the 2 points. You can decide to divide it by 2 first. It helps. 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches. Divided by 2 is 4 inches. 4 inches. So connect. So you're going to be picking the center point. Pick the center point and fold it out like this. Can you see that? Once you have picked the center point, fold it and then pin it down. You go ahead and use your pressing iron to iron it very well. So you're going to be sewing on this line here. That's where you're going to be sewing on this line here. What we did to this side, we're going to do the same thing to the other side. You can see that this has already formed. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure the collar length. We're going to make measurement for the collar length. And for us to do that, you need to have this place open like so. Mind you, the collar length, the collar width we are using is we cut out 2 inches from here. So but then we are going to be needing ½ inch. We're going to be attaching with ½ inch, right? And then the collar itself, we need ½ inch to attach itself to this attire. So that means that what we're going to be cutting, the width that we're going to be cutting will be 6 inches, right? To replace the both sides, we're going to be cutting 6 inches, just so that after sewing, attaching by ½ inch, we will be left with 5 inches. That means that the ½ inch we took out from here will be replaced on the collar itself. So if you cut out 1 inch from here, instead of cutting out 2 inches, that means you want the collar to be smaller, not as wide as the 2 inches. That means the collar width you're going to be cutting out is going to be 4 inches, just so that after sewing on both sides, you're going to be left with 3 inches. Right? Do you understand that? Now, I'm going to go ahead and place my tape from this notch. Please make sure you notched the back before opening it up. So we're going to place on this notch and then measure it. Please measure it gradually. Measure it. So what I have here is 64.5. Now, I said in a section of hemming allowance you added, maybe you should hem your own before you decide to measure this, so you don't make mistake. So I got 64.5 inches, but please do not cut it exactly on that 64.5 inches. Make sure to cut length of extra 2 to 3 inches, please, okay, so that you don't make mistake. Go ahead and do your hemming. Sew on the shoulder plate. So looking at this, I have gone ahead to do my shoulder plating sewing. I've sewn from here to the back panel, and also at the sleeve part I decided to add the width of collar. I'm adding the width of the collar, right? So the width of the collar is 5 inches divided by 2.5 inches. So I have 2.5 inches here. You can see that, right? 2.5 inches. Now, after this, I've gone ahead. I added to the two sides of the sleeves, right? Then I have also gone ahead to cut my collar. Like I told you, it's going to be width of 6 inches. So width of 6 inches and length of the whatever measurement you got from yours. So after getting it, what I went ahead to do is to iron gum stay on it, right? After ironing gum stay on it, medium quality, medium stay, I decided to make my neck depth to be 14 inches, which was where my client wanted it to be, 14 inches, right? So, and then having in mind that you will have a quarter or half inch sewing allowance up here to join the collar at the up here. So what we're going to do now, that please make sure that you cut this collar two. It has to be two, right? Two facing each other, right? See, it is 2 in number. So what we're going to go ahead and do right now is to go ahead and start from here. Remember that this place is 14 inches, right? Start from there and so run a stitch at the center. You can see that I've already gone ahead to make a crisp at the center. That is what demarcate that this is my center, right? So what you're going to do is that you're going to run a stitch from this 14 inches, place this 14 inches here, and run a stitch all the way to where you want the slit to start from, right? So my client wants her slit to start from, her full length is 60 inches, right? So she wants her slit to be 15 inches length. So I'm going to mark it at 45 inches. This is it. So you can always ask your client where they want their slit to end, to start from, right? So that that is how you know the length of where you're going to end your sewing on. All right. So we're going to go ahead now and run a stitch at the center. So after you have gone ahead to sew here by either a quarter or half inch, next thing is to run a stitch from this neck depth all the way down to where the slit ends, right? Afterwards, go ahead and turn it. Take the one facing you like this up like so, and then flip the other side over like this. Can you see that? Give it a nice press afterwards. For the inbuilt belt, go ahead and cut a band of, let's say, 2 inches, and then turn it, sew it, secure it, and turn it out like so. Then at the front panel, measure down the waist length. My client waist length is 18 inches. I'm going to go ahead and measure that 18 inches. Mark it at this 18 inches. Then her waist round divided by 4 is, my client waistline is 31 inches divided by 4 is 7.75 inches. So I'm going to remember that we took out 2 inches from this side, so I'm going to place that 2 inches like so, and I'm going to mark 7.75, and this is it. or you can decide to work with 7 inches, right? Now we are going to attach this belt like so. Place it on this line, on the mark line, pin it down. Make sure you place it above and not below, above the half length. You pin it down. So you pin it down, do the same thing to the other side. So go ahead and run a stitch to secure it by, let's say, like 1/2 or 1/4 inch. After attaching the belt to the front panel, only at the front panel please, do not attach at the back panel unless you want to bring out new design for us. So next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we take our collar. The collar is the last thing to be attached to this attire. After turning it like so and ironing like I told you, go ahead and identify the notch. This is the joined part. This is the part where we joined it. So we're going to match the joined line to the notch at the back panel, at the neck of the back panel. So just match it like so, and then pin it all the way through. So at the end, this excess that is remaining here, what you're just going to do is you're just going to notch where this ended. You're just going to notch it. So when you turn it over like this. When you turn it over like this, you go ahead and run a stitch like so. After running the stitch, do the same thing to this other side. Run a stitch like so. After running a stitch, you go ahead and pin it back and then run stitch on the collar all through. After joining the collar, the way I showed you, it should be joined. After joining the collar, that is attaching it to the fabric by 1/2 inch. Turn it and then go ahead and sew your side seams, your inseam, side inseams. Afterwards, go ahead and give it a real good press. So I'm going to go ahead and place this button. I'm going to make a button with this fabric, this Ankara fabric, and then I'm going to use and place about 6 of it in this line, just as you're seeing on the screen, right? So afterwards, you can decide to place yours all the way down, depends on how you want to design it, or just let it stop where my own stops, right? So afterwards, guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If this tutorial was helpful to you, I'm very sure it was helpful to you, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That is, like the video, share to your friends and communities you belong to, and also put on your notification bell if you don't have it on, so that I can get notified each time we upload a new tutorial. So guys, to this very end, we say ciao.